And I send all my doubts and demons on their way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play, is here and now today.
Hey, folks, this is Coach Raja coming to you live, and I appreciate all of you. Welcome to the Unbox Me Today show. You got a ring of the victory bell for being here and being so amazing. And you know who else is so amazing? Not just one scoop, but two scoops of amazing people coming right up. First up is Alicia. She's a PhD with a botanist with 30 years of teaching experience and expertise in DNA biology. Oh, I love scientists. As a nutritionist and effective parenting coach, she blends science and compassion in individualized care. And our second scoop with an extra dose of sugar, Brenda, a nutritionist, former social worker, and author of Metabolic Health Roadmap, brings decades of experience helping children and families. Together, they deliver practical, science-backed strategies in their books and online programs to transform wellness. So let's introduce the one, the only, super talented, super beautiful, and we have two. So today we have an amazing win, the one, the only, Alicia and Brenda. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Whoops.
Hi.
There we go.
There we go.
Welcome to the show. How are you guys feeling today?
Thank you for having us. It's quite a powerful introduction, I'll say.
Well, that's what I say. Like, our show is always 3 F's: fast, furious, and fun. So, and if you want to have more fun, click the link down below on StreamYard so that way you can be part of the action and ask questions during the live. So let's just dive right in. Why did you get into this kind of a business? Like, what is it that you do and how do you do it?
Go ahead, Alicia.
Okay, well, first of all, like, I've been a biologist for 30 plus years, and I love science, as you probably know. And I think the most amazing thing I have done with my career, besides I don't know how many students I've had over years and decades, is applying what I know about biology into health. And being a holistic nutritionist has allowed me to blend this and to make this merge in a really fun way that we call it, epigenetic roadmap. So having a map and knowing where you're going makes a huge difference.
Doesn't it? Yeah. And for a lot of us, like, sometimes we don't have a roadmap to our health, and a lot of our we're trying to guess what is the right thing to do. What's the next fad diet? I remember all those years. First it was Atkins, and then there was Beachbody, then there was Zone Diet, and then there was some carb diet, then there was the Apple diet, and then, one thing I did for myself years ago, after my car accident, I gained 75 pounds, and it was really rough on my body, my health, and of course my work, my family. After 6 years of trying and failing, one thing I did, I stopped dieting, and all of a sudden I lost 48 pounds last year. So you got to have the right roadmap, right?
Exactly. And I think the other thing that Alicia and I do that is interesting for us is that we intersect a number of different fields of study. So we're both nutritionists. Alicia brings major science backing. I'm trained as a social worker, worked in that field for a decade. So we cover the body, mind, spirit, and I also co-pastored with my husband for 20 years. So we have this lovely interplay of all the parts of a person. So like you said, when you lost weight last year, it wouldn't have been just because giving up the diet. There would have been some mindset, there would have been some emotional components, all of those things interplay. And I think that's the part that we probably love the most, is putting those pieces of the puzzle together.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's funny. Like, sometimes I'm a mindset coach, as you all know. And so for me, when I talk about success and what success really means to you, everybody always, the initial result is always like, well, I just want to make $1 million. That's great. What if I gave you $1 million and you have to go stand in the corner your whole life? Would you want it? Well, no. Okay, so it's not the $1 million. You want to use it for something. What is it for? So it's not the end result. It's the tool that gets you to where you want to go. So, and in that light, I think that having health, there's that old phrase, you know, when you have your health, you have everything. And I keep hearing over with a lot of my guests, you know, everybody says they have 1,000 problems until you have a problem with your health, then you only have one problem, right? So who do you help serve with your training and your tactics? I mean, I'm always curious to find out, like, who can you help the most, and if you have an example of a success story that you wouldn't mind sharing with us.
Go ahead, Brenda.
We have the gamut. We cover the gamut from children all the way to, you know, people that are in their 70s, 80s, probably. Our largest market that we work with, the largest population, is probably women, aged maybe 35 to 65 in there. But we have a whole new realm. We also, well, we also love kids, our own and others. So we developed a Kids and Balance program a number of years ago that we've now expanded to specifically be looking at children with ADHD. So anyone who can make lifestyle changes that will impact the expression of their genes, we are happy to help. That sum it up, Alicia, or did I miss anyone?
Yeah, and it's interesting, this part, because people, when we talk about epigenetics, people, you know, probably people know what genetics is, you know, probably from school. I mean, when I studied genetics, like years ago, I'm not going to tell you how long, genetics was one thing and environment was another one. And one important thing about genetics is that we got our DNA from the minute we were conceived until we pass on. It's never going to change, right? It's the same over and over again. What changes is the environment, and what changes is how our genes are expressed. And so if we can work, I mean, our main goal is working in epigenetics, which is basically changing the environment to get your genes to express in a healthy way. And it's phenomenal. Sometimes I'm even in awe with what we find and the people we work with, how they start feeling a lot better and how they can regain their health. As you say, without health, what else do you have, right?
You asked about a case study, and there's a woman that's given us permission to use her name. She was actually, I met her through a podcast. She interviewed me through a podcast. She is a social worker, therapist, trained in addictions and all those kind of things. And I did some work with Alicia and I after the podcast, and was most blown away by the fine tuning that happened. There's a very famous greens product. I won't name it. It's a great product. It's actually really good, well formulated, etc. But for certain people who don't detox a certain way, it's very problematic. It makes it worse for them. And that was one of the things that we helped her discover, is that she needed to be off that. She actually didn't have a lactase intolerance that she thought she did. She could reintroduce that. And biggest thing was she learned that she got stuck in a cortisol stress cycle very easily. So we helped her break that so that she was able to handle things in her life in a much better way. So they're always very specific things that we help with. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. And for those in the audience who don't have a science background, cortisol is your stress hormone. When it's elevated, it causes stress in your body. I mean, I got to say also, speaking of, when you start talk about like that patient who wasn't sure like if she had like a lactose intolerance or not. I remember for me, I had asthma for my whole life. I basically got diagnosed. I felt it. I remember in cross country in high school, but it didn't get diagnosed till college. But last year, my asthma went away after 30 years. I've been inhaler free for over 12 months now, after more than 30 years. And I'm thinking, what the heck just happened to my body? And I remember reading different, for example, on Netflix, there was a great documentary called Game Changers that came out, I think, a couple years ago. It was produced by Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they talked about how animal proteins can cause inflammation in humans. So in your blood vessels, there's a lot of inflammatory products. So it's not just red meat, but it's also all the preservatives and everything that goes into it. And we as humans are the only species that drinks another animal's milk products. You think that those different informations can be going on across your entire body. Can you give any example that maybe if people who feel kind of bloated or they feel sort of heavy, like what sort of advice would you give them to help to improve their health?
Go ahead, Brenda.
Wait.
Go. This is Brenda's favorite topic.
So
really, so this one is good.
When we work with clients, we look at about 10 or 11 different systems. So you're talking digestion, we look at digestion, we look at neurotransmitters, we look at nutritional deficiencies, inflammation, metabolism, all of those kinds of things, reproductive organs, thyroid. And the thing that's fascinating is that, again, that cross layering. Someone can be having digestive issues, bloating, for example, like you mentioned, but that is could just be the tip of the iceberg. It's just the first place that your body registers it once you've eaten it, unless it's in your mouth, right? Okay. But then usually that bloating is going to produce some leaky gut. So some of those elements are going to be transported across the intestinal lining without being digested the way they will. And so we typically will have them go on what we just call a clean diet, like just off the processed foods, off the refined grains and sugars. We'll probably pull out the dairy and the gluten, some of the common allergens initially, and just have them see how they do on that. But we also want to look at then if there's systemic inflammation, is there systemic issues with detox, then we want to support that as well. So we'll tackle the digestion, but let's look broad.
Got it. So now, what's interesting is in more recent years, it seems like everybody has some sort of a gluten allergy. Now, I know about 5% of the population, if you have celiac disease, you have a severe gluten allergy, but a lot of others may just have sort of a insensitivity to it or sensitivity to it. And why is it that we're finding out so much about it now versus maybe 10 years ago, where it seemed like it didn't even exist?
It's you, Alicia, and glyphosate. Where you go?
That's a really good question. From the biological perspective, is how we humans have changed the food we consume, how we are creating, new genetically modified organisms, which in the long term we don't even know how we're going to react to them. How, for example, all the grains have way more gluten than before, or it has to do a lot with how we have processed and changed what we put in our mouths. It also has to do with the environment, not only for us, but how do we grow our crops? And, are we using pesticides? Are we using, fertilizers? What are we doing? What are we doing with our soils to start with? What's happening with the water? Like when we are basically in an environment that is very toxic, right? And then you add one component that makes you more toxic, that's when you will react. And that's why Brenda says, the first place, the easiest place to know, is your gut. And I want to give you an example. We had one of the person taking our program. She was worried that she couldn't put her ring on. She was very, inflamed. And she said, but I've been working on this for so long. What's wrong? So we sat down, and what I realized is she hadn't optimized her fat intake. As soon as we did that, in 2 days, she sends me a picture with her ring on. I wasn't just worried about the inflammation that you can see. It's inflammation that's inside your body. And for kids with ADHD, the inflammation, of course, is in the brain, especially in this part, which is the prefrontal cortex. So this is something to really look at. And in our programs, we talk a lot about listen to your body, but truly it's learn to listen to your body. What is your body telling you? Is there inflammation? Is there a headache? Is there a tummy ache after you have gluten? What is it? Because that is the person that knows your body best is you. And so you need to be
the healthiest.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So I want to share with that, in line with that, first of all, I want to give you a big ring of the victory bell because you're sharing amazing tidbits of health knowledge that I think a lot of people do not realize or just have not been exposed to. And especially here in the US, a lot of our health treatments are all basically pharmaceutical based. And there are many other ways that we can do. I'm not going to get into now how how the American Medical Association basically deified allopathic schools as the one right way, because they now use pills, potions, and products, and gene therapies, and vaccines, and whatever else from pharmaceutical companies. But there are also alternative therapies and like medicines, because I was just watching another documentary. By the way, can you tell like I read a lot, and I watch a lot about that information. There was a story about how going back 130 years ago, there were over 188 medical schools in the U.S. And once the AMA was formed, now there's less than, I think, 65, 67, something like that, because they didn't count the ones that were osteopathic as real medical schools, which is a shame, because they take a more holistic approach to the whole body rather than treating only symptoms. So, so you have a gift down below that's going to help people. Can you tell them, if they click on that link, like what are they going to receive, and how are they going to benefit?
Go for it, Alicia.
They're going to receive a little handout, and it's for parents and children, about what is epigenetics and how does epigenetics what does it have to do with ADHD. And so from that gift, later on, you're going to find out that we actually just published the book. And
last week, 2 weeks ago? Yeah.
It's right here. So it's on Amazon. And you can definitely find it on Amazon wherever you are. And the other good news for my Spanish-speaking community is that it's almost ready to be downloaded in Spanish as well.
Very good. Se habla español? Es muy bueno. So Alicia, Brenda, this has been amazing so far. Make sure, my audience out there, click the link down below. If you want to give us some thumbs ups and some hearts so that we know that you got value out of it, please do so now. And if you're on the live, you thrive. On the replay, you get to play again. So make sure you still leave comments so that we know what helped you the most, so we can keep on bringing the best guests for you. So let's shift gears a little bit, what I call the softer side of series, and get to know both of you from a personal level. This is what I call the speed dating round. Tell us a little bit about, where did you grow up and how did you grow up?
Sure. I'm Canadian, born and bred in the freezing cold, what would be called the Midwest in the U.S. And very sickly kid, rheumatic fever, all of those kind of things. Then went to university, became a sickly social worker with thyroid problems and ulcers at the ripe old age of 25, and met an amazing holistic practitioner that literally saved my life. And so just changed how I approached my life. This was before we had children. And so my poor five children all had a hippie earth mama for a mother. So they're, of course, all very healthy and well as well. But that was after my social work career, and the pastoring was when I became a nutritionist 25 years ago now. And so just layer those all together in body, mind, spirit, wellness. And literally, Alicia and I talk about this often in our staff meetings, how we are so grateful that at the ripe old ages that we are like healthier, better shape physically, probably fitter and more energetic than we were in our 20s. So that just encouragement to anyone who's listening who is young, you can do this. You can have a really great life ahead of you.
Absolutely. And Alicia, how about you?
Well, I was born and raised in Mexico City, where I studied biology, and I came to Canada to do a PhD in botany. And after that, I've been doing academics, teaching, university for a long time. But then in 2010, I switched careers, and I didn't switch careers. I just added to my career. I became a holistic nutritionist. Yeah. And I realized that I had been a highly constipated person. I realized that my liver was really, really toxic. And the saddest part of it all is that my kids paid for it. However, as Brenda says, after the years, after really optimizing, because when we started with working with the DNA, it was an optimization of what we were already doing. I mean, we were already having really healthy habits and stuff like that. But in reality, when you optimize them, it's like when you have here ladies in their 60s that are feeling like, younger than their kids that are, 20s, in their 20s and 30s. And so
Mhm.
it's amazing. Sometimes, like I look at my kids, I'm like, why are you so tired? Like, I'm not tired. I mean, and you should see, how we work and how we collaborate and all that.
Yeah.
And,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't change it for the world because again, and I have a story that my parents aged and they were
Yep.
really, really sick people when they were older. And tell you the truth,
Mhm.
I don't want to repeat that pattern. So tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I'm ready for it. Like,
I got it. Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
get to, so was there growing up, was there either a movie or a book that helped inspire or shape the way you think now?
Well, for me, I'm thinking more a person, and it was that holistic practitioner that
Mm-hmm.
was. You would love him, Raja. He was a
Yes.
scientist, was doing scientific formulas for supplement companies,
Yeah.
but also very holistic. And and very unique, and his presentation in the world was not the same as many people, but
Yeah.
I would say very much an inspiration for me
Yeah.
was seeing what he did and seeing the effect it had on my life and being really committed to wanting to help other people in that same way.
Gotcha. How about you, Alicia? Favorite book, favorite
actually,
movie?
actually, my favorite movie of all times is The Sound of Music, which kind of funny. And you're going to kind of think, how did that impacted me? Well, it was truly, it's the mental, emotional, and physical well-being.
Mhm.
What really, truly, what you do is what you love doing. And why do I love that movie? Because I love music as well. And so
Mhm.
it's been always a fun movie to watch. I don't know how many times I've watched it, but in reality, it's not only the storyline, but
Yeah.
how, I was the age of the little girl when he came out, right? And it was
Of
just
course.
really interesting how
Yeah.
everything has evolved, right?
Yeah.
And it's always that science, right? And I
Yeah.
know you love science, Raja.
Oh, I do. And actually, like what you and Brenda have been saying all along, like the really like the triangle life. I call it the triangle life, where you have like mind, body, and soul. But I say it like a little bit differently when I go up on stage. I say science for the mind, karate for the body, and music for the soul. And it's sort of like,
Yes.
and for me, I always tell people that um, uh, when I coach on mindset, to talk about, all right, how do you define yourself, your success? What's your KPI for success? Now, when you get your success, will you be happy? And a lot of them said, sure, sure, sure. All right, great. So what if instead of waiting to be happy and spending 99% of the time being unhappy, waiting to be happy, what if you became happy now,
Yeah.
and then the success was just the icing on the cake? And all of a sudden I say, oh, what a mind shift. It's like, yeah, that's that simple idea that you are allowed to be happy on the way to success.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that works for your health, works for wealth creation, it works for learning and
Mhm.
studying. It works for people that, for example, I've been a cancer scientist for 26 years. I've been behind multiple billion-dollar drugs, Darzalex, Zytiga, and Imbruvica. We just approved Carvykti back in 2021, no 2022, and so I, I've been there. But I remember going through phases of my life thinking, I'm not happy. Why should I do this? Why should it? And so, if we can help people to shift and create that, I think that might help everyone become a little bit more healthy. Don't you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
what's your favorite kind of music? I always find this fascinating from people.
I'm old school rock and roll. Like, what can I say?
Woo.
The last couple and growing up, I was raised in a very conservative home, so it wasn't like I was
Mhm.
going to big concerts. Then we had all these kids, so it wasn't like I could
Yep.
have the money to go to all these concerts. So now, as my husband and I just came back from Rolling Stones. We saw Paul McCartney last year. We saw
Oh,
Elton
nice.
John. So all of that genre, like Fleetwood Mac, Bruce Springsteen, like those
Yeah.
are my kind of like ones. And Phil Collins, like what can I say? All those guys, yeah, and women.
Yeah.
Alicia, how about you?
Well, I mean, nothing beats Mexican music. I'm so sorry.
Ah,
Para
I'm
bailar
gonna leave it
bamba.
at that.
Not even Sound of Music?
Not even the Sound of Music.
Okay.
That's
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah. Well,
How
you know,
about you, Raja? What music do you like?
oh gosh, I remember it seems like my tastes change every like 8 to 10 years or so. I feel like I'm in my new new era of music. So I just growing up, I just used to listen to pop music. I got into high school choir and I just fell in love with Broadway. Everything from
Ah,
I taught myself how to play piano and the guitar and in the choir room 5 minutes before we'd have to go sing, I would plunk around on the piano. I taught myself how to play Phantom of the Opera on the piano. And then I listened to Les Miserables and Miss Saigon, and then of course I finally saw Wicked, the movie version, and understand why uh, "Defying Gravity" is such a powerful anthem song. It's really almost it's not a coming of age song; it's sort of a transformational song. And by the way, um, there's a little Easter egg where you see like Kristen Chenoweth and you see Idina Menzel in the movie,
okay.
who are total Broadway royalty. I love them, and of course, if you didn't know this, Idina Menzel played Elphaba in the Broadway version of a Wicked. So you hear her voice, and then you hear that same voice ringing out when you hear her huge anthem song. If you've ever watched Frozen, you may have heard this small little song buried in the center of the movie, "Let It Go," and that was a powerful song of transformation and
Yes.
and stepping into one's power. And I always just thought it was a beautiful thing. And I think that's why I think music transcends
Yes.
everybody's culture, background, religion, financial situation. It doesn't matter. You can hear a good beat and you know what's a good song, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what is your favorite food?
You
Oh
know,
my gosh. Okay, well, who are you asking? A Mexican?
Both of you.
Mexican food, the healthy Mexican food is the best in the world. I have to
Okay.
tell you, when you know how to cook it and it's healthy, it's delicious.
Okay, so it's
and I
not
have
Taco
had
Bell.
and I've had it. No, it's not Taco Bell.
No,
No, I have had it. Alicia's cooked it for us, and it is amazing. But when I'm not having that, it's what I had for lunch today: big tossed mixed salads, greens, hummus, sauerkraut, balsamic, olive oil. Like people are going, like, don't you have to? You're a nutritionist. They make you eat that. I'm like, no, I love eating that. And my 17-month-old grandson I'm handing him fistfuls of sauerkraut and he's munching it down. So it's not just me. It was a favorite in the household.
no way. That's fantastic. All right, so listen, here's what I'm thinking of. It's a mix of like south of the border and whole food. So hello, hey manager, yeah, listen, like I need a pallet of each of those types of food in the green room stat. Thanks so much. So like totally real call. So we're gonna get you some food in the green room as we shift to our next segment. So before we shift gears again, what do you want people to recall about you?
To me, is truly wake up every day with
Yeah.
with a passion and a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like when doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter where you live, anywhere in the world, when you wake up with purpose, every single day makes sense to you.
Beautiful.
And me, I think just that I want people to understand that they can make simple, small steps that will have a powerful impact in their life. Often it feels so overwhelming, but just small little steps every day. That's what I hope I inspire people to do, is just tackle one thing. What can you do with your kids? What can you do for yourself? And
Yeah.
once that's established, then maybe look at maybe something else, one step at a time.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. We're going to shift gears to our 60-second mind shift. I'm going to give you a ring of the victory bell. And for those that are still here, please make sure you click on that link down below, and we will see you after our sponsor segment. So there is Alicia and Brenda's link down below. Make sure you click that. Our sponsor link this week is going to be the World-Class Mindset workshop that we just did last weekend. We're going to do it again next month. So make sure you click that link so that you can create a world-class mindset in your life. I will also want to share unabashedly my TEDx talk, how to speak when you can't talk. I want to raise awareness about invisible disabilities because people are being marginalized in every company out there. So let's make sure that we give power and we empower these people who are screaming in quiet frustration right next to you. And lastly, if you want to improve your business, make sure that you get something such as a media reel or speaker reel done. Here's an example of what we can do for you.
When you throw a rock into a lake, what happens? No, there's a splash. You make an impact, and then you get waves. And then you don't know where those waves are going. Those waves are going past around the reeds, and you don't know where that impact is. So all of you out there, when you're on stage, you don't know where your impact is going to end. It's never going to end.
All right, folks. So in this segment today, we're going to talk about our 60-second mind shift. What if instead of chasing a goal, you were chasing happiness? How would that change your life? What if you were chasing happiness your whole life? If you ask a 5-year-old in kindergarten, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, fireman. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a soccer coach. What if that child answers back, oh, I want to be happy? And then you tell them, no, you can't say that. You have to pick a job. I'm like, well, why? I want to be happy when I grow up. Well, doesn't being happy impact your job, your family, and your community? Doesn't it impact everybody that you meet at church? Doesn't it impact social media? Because if you're a happy person and productive person, aren't you going to be more successful and more profitable? Well, all of us need to realize that maybe we might be chasing the wrong thing. If you want to chase our health, you want to become more healthy, there is a way to do it. What if, now this is going to surprise you, when I started to really focus on my health and start wondering, like, how come all these diets not working? What's going on? You know what happened? I got really busy 2 years ago. I made a plan to do 100 interviews in 6 months. And along the way, just happiness flowed through me. All of a sudden, it felt like I gave people a voice and I started to find my voice. I became happy. I became less stressful. I had more fun. And it helped me organize my time because I was having fun doing things. In between those activities, I knew what I needed to do. And I just focused on those tasks. I went to the gym. I worked out more. All of a sudden, I didn't have the nighttime munchies because a lot of us are emotional eaters. We're trying to hide the pain by covering it up with cheddar cheese potato chips or something, or the next pint of ice cream. So instead of that, consider this. Instead of choosing to be successful, what if you choose to be happy? And let's find out what our guests think about that. So let's welcome back the amazing Alicia and Brenda. So tell us, what did you think about that, a 60-second mind shift, and what would you add to it?
I think when you look at happiness, sometimes people think that, and I'll wear my social worker hat for a minute. I think sometimes people think that if you're going to be happy, it means you're in denial about things that might be problematic in your life, maybe a challenging relationship, a job loss, whatever. And I try to help people understand that in the midst of difficult circumstances, there can still be elements of joy and happiness, and it doesn't have to discount that, the loss of a loved one or whatever. So I would just expand that to say that it's not like this I'm happy in a fake kind of way. It's like I'm choosing to see joy or happiness even in challenging circumstances sometimes. So yeah, I would just piggyback that on it.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say that feeling happy is always about giving others. You gain more or you win more. You have more wins and more happiness when you give to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be grateful that you can do that. Like both giving and gratefulness to me are two very important elements of being happy.
Yes. Yeah. And now that, for example, like celebrate the small wins every single day. Like a couple of weeks ago, I just ordered something from Amazon and it just came today. So it's sitting outside on my porch right now. I just ordered a Roman chair. so that I can actually do back extensions and work on my abs. And I'm gonna do a family challenge. We're all going to work on that. This as part of our New Year's goal. I am so happy that it's on my porch right now, and I can't wait to unpack it and put together little Allen screws and twist it and start using it tonight. I'll have to wait till after my Toastmasters meeting, but still, like, think of all those small wins we can stack. So once again, Alicia and Brenda, thank you so much for being here and being such great guests. I want to ask one last question. If somebody gave you a blank check, what would be your grand vision to change the world?
You had me thinking about this, Roger, when you sent that question ahead of time. And I think the two things I would do, I would use it for education, because I think people don't understand their own self-worth, their own value. And I think that they don't see the value of others. So there's an intolerance and a lack of justice and care for each other. So however I could spend that money to educate people as to their value, and then opening their eyes to see the value in others, I think that would be how I would spend that.
Got it.
And probably some ice cream all around.
Good. Alicia?
Well, I would definitely use it to serve others in terms of be as healthy as you can, because without your health, there's nothing else.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much, everybody. You're gonna ring the victory bell. We already see some comments coming out in the chat. So make sure you click the links down below, folks. And as always, this is Coach Raja. I want to thank you for watching the entire Unbox Me Today show. We're always live because when we're live, we thrive. You see the replays on YouTube shortly. And for everybody else that's on LinkedIn and other platforms, you'll be getting those updates as well shortly. So thank you so much. And as always, this is Coach Raja. Believe it and become it. And we'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye. All right, great job. Quick 30 seconds. We're going to finish up your testimonial and we're out of here. What was your why for being on the show today? What did you want to accomplish?
I actually love going on podcasts for two reasons. One, I've met the most interesting hosts, and you being one right up there. Raja, thank you so much. And I just feel like it's a good platform to be able to let other people know that they can make changes. So thank you.
You are very welcome. Okay.
Well, as you know, I have always loved your mindset, and it is creating healthy lifestyle and choices that you have. It's all about that. Create a healthy mindset, and the rest will come.
Great. And what was your biggest takeaway from the show today?
Well, I would just say the way it's structured and the way the questions flow and having it fun. Like it's always, to me, when I watch it has to be fun.
Yep. Fast, furious fun.
And I would say that's the same thing, both your spontaneity and excitement at having your new Amazon package on your driveway or your front doorstep or whatever, but also just your vulnerability and sharing, openness around the weight loss in the last year and all of these different things, and your passion for helping others with, as you said, invisible disabilities. So there's a lot to be grateful for and being on this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And just last question, like knowing what you know about me now, would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you recommend me to somebody else's stage?
I think if it was the right stage that you would be a fit for, like a 10. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, folks. Podcast crew knows what to do from here, and we are officially out of here.